Hey everyone, welcome to the Be Bold, Make Waves podcast, a show bringing you inspiring stories of women who are growing and scaling their business. I'm your host, Laura Comark, a website and tech integration specialist who works with online business owners who love their work and not their website. Join me as we have incredible conversations about business, mindset, productivity, and of course, the website and tech behind the business. Let's go ahead and dive in to this week's episode. Hello and welcome to this week's show. For those of you who don't already know me, I'm Laura Comark, evergreen email marketing expert for coaches and consultants who love their work, but not their tech. I'm so excited about my guest and client and good friend who is on the podcast today, Alyson Rodges.
Hey.
Animals have been a part of Allie's life for as long as she can remember. Beginning at 6 and continuing through high school, she took lessons at a community park from renowned horse trainer Vivian Carter. She inherited her older brother's horse, which she eventually sold to buy a car to drive to college, an early symptom of Allie's nothing can stop me spirit. At 18, she showcased her innate business sensibility by opening frozen yogurt stores with her sister. Later, she became a top seller of Mary Kay Cosmetics. Aly embodies the practicality of an entrepreneur, the kind heart of a true animal lover, and the skills of a lifelong trainer. Since 2012, Aly has combined those talents and brought her warm, infectious energy to help dog owners create respectful relationships with their pups through the pillars of pack leadership. 4 exploratory concepts that are easily translated into real life for busy dog owners. Aly has an affinity for people wanting to get better with animals and provide a safe, non-judgmental learning zone where there's no such thing as failing. She's a certified trainer who truly cares, graciously welcomes, and gets results. Aly, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Can you tell our listeners how, I want to hear kind of the short version because I know we could talk all day long about this
All day long. Always, always, always.
I want to hear the Cliff Note version of how you became a dog trainer, and more so you are the doodle whisperer.
It is true. And thank you for having me, Laura. It's good to be here. You know, it's funny when you talk to someone that you talk to all the time, like you and I do, in a business capacity. It's fun to do this. It's so different. And it's so, I love it. But in a hot nutshell, clearly I had a lot of business acumen that I brought forward to this season in my life. And I was always the horse girl and the dog girl. And I made money for it. I trained my first dog when I was 12 and I got money for it when I was 13. I am now 60. And somewhere in my mid 40s, after other careers that I was very successful at, I really just said, I want to do this. And this is the truth. I poked my husband at 4:30 a.m. and that's our special time. If I wake up at 4:30 a.m., it is a ding, ding, ding moment. My husband will always go, oh God, okay, something big is coming. I woke him up and I said, Grant, I'm going to be a dog trainer. And he goes, of course you are, sweetheart. And that day, I just said, I'm going to do this full time. I am not going to do it mixed with other things, dabbling here and there and just being the friend that helps and gets a little money here and there. I just said, I'm going to do this. And I brought my business acumen with me and I made some decisions about how I was going to run my business. And I decided after all those decades that I had something very specific to say about it. I've been around a lot of trainers, nothing like I am now in this end of my professional life, but my whole life had been with professional horse trainers and by extension, a lot of dogs. And I saw a lot of things and participated in things. And I just arrived at my own conclusions about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. So on day one, when I said, I'm going to be a dog trainer, I reached out to some doodle breeders, a specific doodle breeder that I had formed a relationship with. And I was actually a guardian home for my guy, Cozy, my 16 and a half-year-old dog. We call him our old doddering fool now. But back then, I was a mom with kids in private school. We didn't have thousands of extra dollars. So I became a guardian home. And when Gail said these words to me, when my dog Cozy went to go do his business, to make the babies that he was supposed to do, because, he was 2 years old, it was time. And she called me that night and said, Alyson, what did you do to this dog? And I said, oh my gosh, he better be being great. She goes, no, he's not just great. he's the most amazing dog I've ever had on the property. I couldn't let that thought go. And then she said, did you do this? And I said, yeah, I did it. I did what I always do. And it was like 30 days later when I woke my husband up and I said, I'm going to do this full time, full tilt, I'll go. And I called that same trainer and I told her, I said, Gail, I couldn't let go of the words you said to me. And I'm going to be a dog trainer. I think I can change your clients' lives and their dogs' lives. She said, great. I've got my first client and they need help and they're in the Netherlands. Can you help them? And and Allie's puppy boot camp was born. I mean, I said, well, yes, I can. And she said, well, what's your business name? And, I said, well, let me get back to you tomorrow. So that night, Laura, I stayed up all night. I created my own first website, which you know me in tech. Oh, my Lord. Can you imagine that? I created a website, my first brochure, my mission statement, which is still my mission statement, by the way, it's never changed. And my first package. And I called her back the next day and said, Alex Puppy Boot Camp, and here it is. And from that day forward, I have truly never not had a dog in training. I mean, from that day forward, since 2012, we've had dogs in training every single day. And from 1 to 2 to 5 to 10, now we have 32 dogs on the property today.
That's
That's my story.
I love that. Oh, I love that so much. And there's something that really stood out to me. Well, a lot stood out to me, but what you said where you just went and did, like, you created that first website and you didn't wait for it to get perfect. You didn't sit there and tinker with it for weeks, months. And that's the thing that I find people get so held back in it
Right.
has to be perfect and it has to, but instead of just like going forward with the idea and making it happen and knowing
Mhm.
that later, I mean, how many websites have you had since that first
What,
website?
5, I think, and we're already getting ready. You and I are going to be doing a little more new refurbishment. I think
Yeah.
I've had 5.
Yeah.
So it's you can't let things like that stop you. I've always kind of marched before I had all the other ducks in a row. And you've seen it with the book, with the online course,
Mhm.
with my patented leash. I just go, And,
We're going to build this plane while it's flying.
yeah, build it and knowing that, I always have a very good vision of what I want to do. Knowing that I give myself room to change and grow. I mean, who isn't going to change and grow? All of us are. Certainly my dog training has, but interestingly enough, I mean, of course, I was much older when I began this career and I had a real idea in my head about how I wanted to approach dog training. So I know that sounds kind of crazy coming into it with a full kind of package idea. But very early, within the first year, I named my pillars of pack leadership. Like I said, this is it.
Your framework.
This is how I'm going to approach dog training, and I'm going to name it. And shockingly, my foundation has never changed. With all the learning I've done now with true professionals, I wasn't a professional then. I mean, I just decided to be and did it. I mean, I was good. I clearly had some experience with dogs. I was going, I made you better. That's good. And I could help people because of all my experiences with employees, I think training, and certainly in Mary Kay, learning how to share knowledge and my education at college, a marketing degree with a journalism minor. I mean, I had those skills to bring to the table. And with all my horse experience, I'm a non-pro in that world. So I have such a heart for the yous and me's that aren't professionals. And we want to learn to do it better. And I really have been through so much training in my horses that I brought a lot of that to my dog table, knowing it doesn't help you just to say, yeah, well, you got a problem. You'll know it when you fix it, kind of thing. You really need to be able to break it down. And that's what I'm so good at, being able to break it down for people.
I want you to tell our listeners a little bit more. Let's go a little deeper into your 4 pillars and
Yeah,
tell us what those are and kind of break it down.
I will. Now, this has changed. I've added a 5th pillar. So that evolved. Yes, it did. Because I kind of lumped 2 of them together and I said, I really need to split it out. It's so big, right? So the first pillar is mastering purpose-driven activities, right? And what are that? What is that? That's walking with your dog, playing with your dog, asking your dog to do something, living life with your dog. I'm asking you to do it in a purposeful way. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is providing structure. right? Learning how to provide structure in your real life. I've always done my businesses as I had my babies. Now I'm a grandma. Now I have grandbabies, right? So babies and children, and I'm the youngest of five children. I have a big family, cousins and aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters, and my mom and my dad. It's a very big Portuguese family, and we're all over everyone's business. So I had to learn how to do it all while I was doing that. So the way I add structure is the way I live. Okay, that's the second pillar. The third pillar is establishing effective, respective space rituals. And I know that sounds like, what's that? But really, it makes a lot of sense when someone says, my dog is jumping on everyone. Oh, you think jumping is the problem. But really, it's a respective space issue. That's the root of the issue, right? My dog does this, my dog does that. It is almost always a respective space component is going on. So that's the third pillar. The fourth pillar is the human component. This is the one I broke out on its own, the human component. Your touch, your tone, your timing. It's very important for you to be able to communicate to a dog in a way that makes sense to a dog, right? We're humans. We speak English or French or Spanish, whatever language we speak. We speak human. We're human. We think in human ways. We move in human ways because we're human. Dogs are canines. They have a very different idea about things, right? So what we want you to do is understand that your dog has to learn to be respectful of space. And I'm going to tell you all about all kinds of ways when you want to ask deeper about it. But so the other one I have to is effective structure. Oh, rituals, the final one, establishing effective rituals, potty rituals, bedtime rituals, and feed time rituals. That's the 5 pillars right there. So
Ooh,
space I pulled out from the human component. I had those mixed together and I said, now I need 5, not 4. So now I have 5.
So I have a question on some of this.
Yes.
In regards to my dog Benjamin or Benny,
Benny.
Who is our ginormous Rhodesian Ridgeback Lab, we believe, rescue that we got. He was about like 10 months to a year old. Someone dumped him on the side of the highway, which is horrible, but great for us because he's amazing.
He's a good
And
dog. Yeah.
oh, he's so good. He's so good with my kids. And it's really interesting to me because he every night when we do bedtime with the kids and my daughters share a room and we go in there to read stories, and for the past few years we've had him for 4 years now, he just like runs into the room with us. We don't call him.
Yeah.
He
He
runs into the
knows the
room
ritual.
and he will sit in us like right in the middle of where we are, or he'll climb in bed with one of the girls. He gets very needy and like lays his head in their lap. He's very, and he's 80 pounds.
Yeah. He's a big boy, but he thinks he's a lap dog. I get it. I know.
Sometimes he's definitely not snuggly with me. But I mean, it's always been so interesting to me because it was nothing that we might have called him in there in the beginning, but like he just does it on his own. And it's cute because we watch for him to do it and come like snuggle in with them. So is that him seeing it as this is the ritual? We read
Yes.
stories, we do snuggle time.
Right.
This is when I come snuggle with my little girl.
Yes, that is the ritual you created with him. You don't know you did it, but you did. And rituals can change, right? Rituals can change. So how I came up with the pillars is really what a mom dog does to a baby dog, right? And so let's go through it. Mommy dogs say, hey, it's time to eat, time to stop eating, right? Time to play. Ooh, don't like that. Don't like that plan, right? Time to go to sleep. You're going to go potty here, not there. I do not want you anywhere near me. Mommy dogs say that all the time to their puppies, right? So what you're learning and what you're seeing there, that's every pillar. Respect of space, feed time rituals, bedtime rituals, potty rituals, the structure of the day. Mommies are very structured with their puppies. I mean, there's playtime, there's eat time, there's sleep time, there's run around time, and don't run so far from me. There's that too. I mean, so there's all these things, but when I watched mom dogs with baby dogs, and I can't even tell you how many hundreds of hours I've seen mommies with their babies. That's how I formulated my foundation. I mean, I said, this is really what it comes down to. This is the root. This is the foundation upon which sit down, stay, come, and all those other things are built. But the foundation is you have to have rituals. You have to have structure. You have to have a purpose in what they do. Prior to, I don't know, the 90s, dogs actually had jobs. They did stuff. They were bred to do things like Rhodesian Ridgebacks were in Africa doing things with lions. They were protecting, right? Every dog had function. And then something kind of transformed towards the 90s when dogs became merely companions. And I think we really robbed a lot of purpose from our dogs' lives. So if you're going to take a dog that was bred to do something and they don't get to do it, you have to fulfill them. And that's what being purposeful is, right? So do you see where all these foundations spread their tentacles into the
Absolutely.
absolutely everyday application?
Yeah. I mean, as you were going through them, I was thinking of all these different things, like with the no jumping. As soon as we got that giant dog and we had a 2-year-old, there was a very there's no jumping up. There's no, I put such strict, no tossing treats for them to jump for it. There is no
Right.
jumping. And there's a woman on the beach here who's 92 years old and she's out walking her poodle who cares nothing about anything other than the ball every day, Clarita. She has a pocket full of treats. Every dog on this beach knows she has a pocket full of treats. My dog will run full steam ahead at her, stop the moment he gets to her, and sit.
Well, thank you, Lord, that you are a responsible owner with that 90-pound dog. Because guess what happened 3 weeks ago to my 92-year-old father? Two 90-pound labs out ahead of their owner, very unruly, not aggressive.
Yeah.
They didn't bite or anything. They're just out of control.
Yeah.
And they're dogs of size. And they 15 feet on flexies out ahead of him, walking around the neighborhood. My dad was just in his yard pulling weeds. They come barreling onto dad's property, knock him over. My dad broke his hip. That can end a 92-year-old's life,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So I'm so proud of you for recognizing your part of the equation. Hello, fifth pillar, human.
Yep.
You understood your responsibilities. And someone like you is the reason my dad could have been saved from what happened to him. He survived surgery, but there's a whole host. His life is over the way he knew it. So your friend on the beach, I can't tell you how my heart is happy that you were an owner taking your responsibilities seriously and you lived it. Because you were being practical. You were thinking, I have a 2-year-old, not even seeing the translation of what it would mean down the line, living near water and beaches, how you could be impacting an innocent 92-year-old, right?
Well, I see it a lot with people with puppies and they're like teaching them to jump up. I'm like, when that lab puppy gets a lot older, that's not going to be real cute. And again, I have kids. I've from day one taught my kids how to properly be around dogs and the proper things to say, the proper things to do. You always ask the owner, you never just go up to a dog. You don't get in its face. Like all these things. I am so strict with my children because they're dogs.
Thank you. They're
Yeah.
dogs, right?
So,
Yeah,
um,
it's important. And
yeah.
safety is, my moniker from day one. I said, and this was on my very first website, this is Allie from Allie's Puppy Bootcamp, and I want to help you learn how to live in a safe, sane, and civilized way together. I mean, that's in my book. It's on everything. That is what I say. I want you all to learn how to live together in a safe, sane, and civilized way. That really compelled me as a mother of children, as a mother and my children. I was the neighborhood. I was the mom with the horses and the dogs, all these things all around. You can get hurt.
Yeah.
People forget that animals are animals
Mm-hmm.
and we start treating them like people and they're not. I really want, if I haven't changed the way people think about a dog, I have not done my job, right? Because I want you to, people will love, we all love our dogs like crazy, but sometimes we love them so crazy, we make them crazy. We love them so much that we drive them a little crazy. So I always tell my clients, listen, I want you to love your dog, but I want you to love your dog in a way that's honoring to your dog, right? And it's important that we teach people who dogs are, how they think, why, what they do. In my book, The Pillars of Pack Leadership, Sit Down, Stay Calm is on page 70. You hear what I'm saying? So sit down, stay calm is at the end. You have to learn what so much more about your dog. Like you didn't even know you were establishing respective space boundaries. Now
Mhm.
you know what it's called. You made it hard and fast because you knew you had a dog of size and you knew you had young children and it was going to be life altering. And you understood from having such a big dog, you didn't want your children getting bit. You didn't want them. And 99% of all bites on children are from dogs they know or they live with, right?
Doesn't
So
surprise
it's
me.
not from stranger dogs. It's from dogs they know. And I have a personal story when I was 10. All these things that happen in your youth contribute. My girlfriend got bit in the face and got 180 stitches from a dog that we knew and loved. He was a good dog. And I'll never forget it because that day Debbie was, hi, doogie, 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 doogie. We're doing everything wrong. We were kids doing everything wrong. And I remember the hair on the back of my neck stood up because I was that kid. I was that kid that was born with it. I kind of just had feelings. I don't know why. Now I do, but then I didn't. I just had the feeling. I was that kid that could tell what was going to happen or, ooh, felt funny. And she just kept it up. On that day, that poor dog was telling us, I can see it almost in slow motion in my mind's eye. He was telling us in every way he knew how, please not today. Not today, girls. Who knows? Maybe he was sick. Maybe he was hurt. Maybe he had pain, or maybe he had just had so many other prior. He said, this is it. This is the
Mhm.
last day. He pulled back. He squinted his eyes. He looked away. Every sign that a dog is saying, not today. No, thank you. And she got bit. And the thing is, that dog wasn't a bad dog. We just pushed him beyond the point. We forget their dogs,
Your dog.
right? So painful lessons that I brought forward into my business. And those are all things that, I mean, I didn't know I was going to be a dog trainer at 10, but certainly that's contributed to my entire safety mindset and
Mhm.
about teaching people like you did. It's like, no, I have to have this dog under control. He's a hazard
Mhm.
otherwise, and yet I treat 2-pound dogs the same way, right? I train every dog the same way from 2 pounds to 200 and everything in between because the concepts don't change. Their mommy treats them the same, whether they're 2 pounds or
Yep.
50 pounds.
Yep.
You know,
So I want to talk a little bit about how you're helping people today. So you have Allie's Puppy Bootcamp. You have a physical location where you do training on site. So is that just for local clientele?
No, no. As a matter of fact, it was funny because my very first client was in the Netherlands, right? So from day one, I had to have a very outward focused thinking. Well, and that friend had a friend in Spain, and then that friend had a. So my very early clients were very far away, but I used Facebook, and I said, well, I'm just going to run around with my cell phone. Or back then, it wasn't even cell phones; it was those little my kids' little flip videos. I'm dating myself there, but they were the little flip videos and you would just plug it in and it would upload it into the computer kind of magically, which for me in technology, I needed at the time. And so before we could do all this with the cell
Yeah.
phones, I was doing it. I said, well, I'm just going to let them watch because they can watch from far away. So my in-person facility was my home where I live. We have property and was where I raised my kids and had my horses and my goats and chickens and all the stuff we have. And that's where it started. And then it grew from there. And I had to get a bigger property down the line. Within 5 years, we were way outgrew. I mean, by then I was up to 18, 19 dogs a day and I needed more. So now we have 2.5 acres and we have our in-person facility, but I have dogs fly in. They arrive, and I'm not joking, by plane, trains, and automobiles. Dogs come to us for our 2 or 3 week in-person training. But soon thereafter, the business grew. My clients would say, oh my God, I've never heard these things. I mean, I'm just going to throw this out to you. Prey drive, pack drive, defensive drive. How much have you been told and talked about that?
Oh, I mean, I've done a lot of dog stuff and I've been around you for a while.
I know, but think pre-me. How
For
much have
you.
you heard prey drive, pack drive, defensive drive?
Not enough.
Not enough. I mean,
Not
I
enough.
can almost tell you with 98% certainty, almost everyone who's taken obedience classes and everything, they're never talking about prey drive, pack drive, defensive drive. And I know I was a kid taking those classes way back when, right? And they weren't talking about it. I knew there was more to the story. I just didn't know what. And I knew by watching dogs, they had drives. I could see it, but I didn't really understand to the degree that I do now how much it affects everything. It's long before sit down, stay. People say, sit, Fido, and Fido's sitting and he's wiggling and vibrating. That's not a sit. Is that sit bringing calm? No, right? Because you can't compel acceptance and you cannot command calm, right? If you could, you would never need anything ever except to sit. Sit, and that would fix everything, right? But sit doesn't.
Magic.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
because, so my whole thinking was we have to change the way people think about dogs. And I did it in a very outward way. So my draw was from very far away, very early on. It's kind of done this. It went from way out here, from all over. We now have dogs we've trained in virtually every state of the nation and in 7 foreign countries. So it started from way out there, and now it's coming to where my local neighbors are, saying, "Oh, hey, she's the dog trainer." Yeah, and some of that is when you've raised and been lived in a community your whole life. They go, "I went to kindergarten with you. How are you this international dog trainer?" Well, I am. So it takes some time before the local yokels embrace you. Jesus was a carpenter, but can you imagine what they're all saying? They're going, "Dude, you're just Jesus. You're a carpenter. What are you doing the Son of God stuff?" You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
By comparison, I say that jokingly, but
So you talked to me about when you created the course that is online
okay.
and how that kind of fits into the business.
You're going to love this because it was very much like everything else. Something was coming up that I said, well, I better have something when I go. I got invited to speak at the International Association for Australian Labradoodles, their national convention. And I was going to be a presenter in 17. So somewhere around mid 16, I said, holy crap, I better have something to show them. And what I kept hearing from my clients is, the page I packed, all the stuff we teach, fight, flight, avoidance, acceptance, all these states of mind, all these things. They go, we've never heard this. I've never heard this. I've owned dogs my whole life. I've done obedience. I've never heard this. Oh my gosh, you teach so much. You need to video this. That was what my clients were telling me. They said, we have loved what we've learned. Now we just want to, it's almost like a fire hose. We need to see it again and again and
Yep.
again. So the seeds were dropped about that I needed to do a video course. And then I got invited to go and I said, well, now I got to create it. So that's when, close to when I met you. I think I met you soon thereafter. I met a girl and she said, okay, you know what we did? We took Amy Porterfield's How to Launch a Course in 60 Days. That's what we did. We did an online thing and we just made the course, and it is still, after all these years, I've added very few things to it. I'm stunned at how good it was. Again, on our cell phone, it isn't fancy, but it's well done.
Yeah.
And my son and I filmed it, and I wrote because I have a writing background. I know what I want to say. And about dogs, I have a very clear vision about how I want to do it, how I want to say it. And I wrote it, we filmed it, we put it together, and that is still the Pillars of Pack Leadership Academy. I've added some bonus things to it. Just again, like how I split out that 5th pillar. I've added very specific meet and greet guidance. I've added an expansion of place. Place is a huge concept in our training. A place board, a defined space where you ask a dog to be for a period of time, right? And I thought it was so meritorious and worthy and so foundational in the respective space pillar that it needed its own module. So that's the course. It is all the pillars, and it literally takes you through. It has a nuisance, but at the end, because if you do all this stuff, all those nuisance behaviors start to fade away. It has a command section: sit down, stay calm. I want all my dogs to pass test. I love winning to little blue ribbons, and I want AKC Canine Good Citizens test to be able to pass that. I'm a certified AKC evaluator. So I want you and your dog to be able to go pass that test. When you go through training with us, I think that's a good benchmark. I train a lot of service dogs and therapy dogs. They have to pass tests.
Yep.
They have to pass public access tests. They have to pass therapy dog testing, very rigorous. I mean, one of our dogs was the very first dog allowed in the San Francisco Cancer Center for therapy dog work. And we have another dog working down in LA, and it was incredibly rigorous, the testing for this particular hospital. It's a big hospital, and she's one of the very few people to have passed it. So we want you to be able to do those things, right? And the course was the way that my clients who trained it with me in person could do it again and again and again. And then I said, well, if my clients can benefit from it, couldn't everyone? And that's where we met you and said, okay, how do we get this thing online and start selling it? So um, that's how the online course, that's where it came from. Initially from clients, and then saying, well, it helps everyone. And it does. I mean, I meet people now all over the country who have never met me, and they've taken my course, and we meet each other online. At the end, I always talk to people, and they go, oh my God, this was so transformative. We loved it. Respect to space and looking at a dog through a dog's eyes, and, learning that there's different things you do. If your dog's in defensive dive, you don't do this, this, and this. The dog's in prey drive, you do this, this, and this. It's learning the things you need to do to help a dog navigate through their natural drives.
When is it a good time to do training with a dog? Is it, I have a puppy, now I need to do training? Is it, I have this dog, I've had him for years? Can you teach an old dog new tricks?
You can. I have an 8-year-old dog in training right now. You can certainly teach them, right? And I always put it like this. I'll tell people, listen, every dog benefits from the foundation, from the 5 pillars. Every dog benefits from it. Every dog will get better. If your dog is already good, it's going to become great. If your dog was great, it's going to become exceptional, right? Every dog benefits from structure and rituals and respect of space and all those then purpose-driven activities. Everyone benefits from it. The challenge is some dogs in the absence of it really go wrong, right? And so it is never too late. I mean, I deal with some aggressives. I choose by my business choice not to do extreme aggressives. I've done some biting dogs, but I'm going to do some evaluations and have a lot of discussion. I mean, there's bites and there's bites, right? And so I make those decisions, but I choose not to deal with the extreme aggressive cases in my business. So no matter what your issue is, you can improve it. Again, every dog gets better. Dogs love structure. If you watch dogs, how they live their life, this free for all, do anything, anywhere, it's no wonder we have more anxious dogs than ever, right? And we do statistically, and COVID just made it off the hook. We have anxiety, needy dogs. I've never seen anything like it in all my decades of work, my lifetime of working with animals. What we've seen since COVID, there was so much isolation. Dogs are pack animals, right?
Yeah.
They left to their own devices, there's a very strict order to things. There's a very strict hierarchy. There's consequences to choices. There is a dog in charge. Always there's somebody. And if that one leaves, another one takes the place, right? So there's always an order to it. They play, they work, they cooperate, and they do not accept infractions, social infractions, right? Like untold, you never see a puppy jumping on an old dog. You hear this, right? Right? We've all seen it. Oh, that old dog doesn't want anything to do with it, right? So you can help every dog learn that by adding order and structure and purpose-driven activities and respective space, you can teach every dog that they can live in this world in a more safe, sane, and civilized way. Anxious dogs become less anxious. Forward dogs become less forward. Reactive dogs become less reactive. Scaredy cat dogs, the ones that go, I cannot cope with the world, become able to more cope, right? They learn how to stand on their own 4 paws. That's what the pillars of pack leadership does for all dogs of all ages. And we've lived it. I mean, I've trained over 6,000 dogs now. Can you believe that? I mean, that's a lot of dogs, and double that number of humans, because every dog has 2 to 5 humans hooked to it, if not more.
Oh,
So,
I want to talk about that.
okay.
How do you deal with when you have, I mean, you have, I mean, I see that just with my husband and I, and then I also have these little kids who are like, oh, we want treats. We want to train the dog. And I'm like, you're doing all these things. Stop throwing treats in the air. I don't want him jumping. And
Mhm.
so how do you deal with that when you have so many people who are training the same dog?
Great question. And the Pillars of Pack Leadership, my book and my course, because every one of my clients gets my course. It's part of the package. They get it. So my clients are getting reading. They actually read things as a family to the little ones, to the grandmas, the grandpas, the au pairs, the everything, the whole enchilada. And then they're watching. And then at the end of our training, they come do it, right? That's our in-person graduation. So we read, we watch, we do. We use all our faculties of learning, and it helps to get people on the same page. But having said that, just like our kids know the rules are different, like when my grandkids come over, I sugar them up. I mean, I do things I would never have done with my own, and like, hey, here you go, back to mom. There is a little degree of dogs get the difference. You know what I mean? They go, I'm with the principal. I can't get away with it with her, but I can do it with him. And there is a degree of that. But education changes you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are willing to raise your children, and with children, it really is this simple. You're the adult, they're the kid, period. Animals have teeth, dogs have teeth, and they're an apex predator. They can hurt you. You
Mm-hmm.
need to listen to mommy or grandma or Auntie Sue or whatever, right? So when I have groups, and we always do, it's like your job, mom, dad, is to educate your children. I'm giving you the words. I'm giving you, the kids love the videos. They love them. They understand them. It's short. They're sweet. They get right to the point, and you'd be shocked at how good kids do when they get a little bit of education. And when they get to my place, and even if I'm doing a FaceTime, I do a lot of consultations with FaceTime. You know how I just seem like a principal? I'm like the boss. I'm the boss lady. They immediately know I'm a boss, and they don't mess around. Like, it's like, hey, well, but I want to, and I instantly say, but it's not all about you, is it? Right? It's not all about you and what you want. This is a living, breathing thing, and we have to be concerned about what they need and what they want. And certainly that makes every parent go, yeah, yeah, it's not all about you, you little brat. Yeah. And we want our children to, and this is the truth. I know this to be true. When we teach our children to be thoughtful, kind, considerate, and respectful of an animal, we create a better human being on the planet Earth. I mean, I know that to be true.
Yeah.
And the lesson really is, it's not all about you and
Mm-hmm.
what you want. I want to give him treats up there. But you know what? You're a kid, and you don't understand that our dog killed that 92-year-old lady on the beach by knocking her over and breaking her hip. So you don't get to do that because it's not all about you, right? That's how I
Yep.
deal with it. I mean,
Oh, I love that.
I speak that frankly to my clients, and I always tell the world, anyone who talks to me, I am willing to risk your displeasure with me by telling you the truth.
I love that. I find one of the things like and again, my dog has his own issues. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to get on here and
They
tell
all
everyone
do.
I have this perfect dog. Trust me, he's got that COVID anxiety because we got him in 2019. He's got so he's very fearful of life. We call him a delicate flower. He's absolutely
And
terrified.
that's actually very common in Rhodesians
Is
that
it?
aren't really
Okay.
properly socialized as a baby.
Yeah, he's terrified of small dogs.
Hmm.
Like it's, there's this really tiny one, those 2-pound dogs that lives just right like a few doors down, and
And is the boss of everybody.
she loves my dog. She's obsessed with him. And so when the dog walker comes out with that dog, her name's Natalie, and she's got like 5 dogs that she's walking because the owner, he rescues all the dogs
Yeah.
and usually small ones. And she just like sees my dog, and my dog's just like, he's on a leash. She's trying to like, how can I get away? How can I hide behind mom? And he's 80 pounds versus like, I don't know, she's probably like
Yeah.
5 pounds. She's just this little fluffy thing. And
Size
today,
has nothing to matter. I
no,
mean,
today we were able, because we're slowly working on him getting more comfortable with her. And it's hilarious because I've said to my husband, want to see the dog get real uncomfortable. Here comes Natalie, and here goes the dog just
well,
hiding
he's
behind her.
really respecting her energy.
Yeah,
Your dog
absolutely.
is being very respectful. That little dog is exuding either a high level of energy or a command of space. One,
Probably
if not
energy.
both.
Yeah, probably.
And
She's very sweet and just like she's got that little
a
energy.
lot of dogs don't like that. And the strong forward dogs come in and say, knock it off, pipsqueak. We don't like it. Tone it down. And the scaredy cat dogs go, she's like scaring me. It's just too much.
It's too
Dogs
much.
don't like that energy. So we run socials every day at our place. So I'm watching 30 dogs every single day of the week interact. And you need all the personalities.
Yeah.
It's what makes their world rich, but they learn. You watch them, and your dog, by telling you, by moving back, he's saying, she's telling me, and he's being respectful.
Mhm.
She's saying something and he's listening. So I think your dog's being smart,
Yes, absolutely.
you know?
He's very something that I get a lot of compliments on him with is he's very good on a leash, which again I go back to I have small children. He can't pull on a leash. That was not acceptable behavior. Um and can we talk a little bit about leashes and leash behavior
Love
and
it.
something that you have come up with and shared with the world to
Good.
change some of these leash things that
I
happen
did.
with dog owners?
So listen, tools are out there. I love tools. I'm a trainer, very proficient in all kinds of tools. But as a dog trainer, I like slip leads. I like head halter configurations for particularly for children. It gives them a lot of control with a dog that they need help with because they don't have size or muscle. Right. So I have a patented leash. My patent just came through, and we were at the Global Pet Expo. My product was in the new product showcase, and that's really fun. So this is my leash, the Good Walker leash. It is 2 leashes in one. It's very soft. I've been using it for years, proofing it in my own thing. So it's 2 leashes in one. There it is as a slip lead. When you have a very good mannerly dog, a slip lead is all you need. But if by chance you have a dog that you need a little more control in a moment, you just quickly with one hand go boop. And can you see that it just makes the head halter? And the unique leverage point, unlike most head halters out there, most head halters pull from the bottom and drag the dog's neck, which ergonomically is not a great thing, right, for the dog, for its musculature. This has the leverage point from the top of the head. And so really it feels very much like a hackamore on a horse. For people that know horses, it feels like a hackamore. And this coming from underneath. So really necessity was the mother of invention. There's so many products out there and I've tried them all. I've had these hot little hands on hundreds of things. And I'm going, well, I like that. I don't like that. I like that. I just finally had to create my own. I just said, I need all the things to work. Right. So that's what I did with this. And for me, the one-handed ability to change size, because I train dogs from 2 pounds to 150 at a flick of a switch, like fast. I got to go from this down to that, fast. And I got to be able to do it because I've usually got some kind of unruly dog that, listen, they're at a training facility for a reason, right? They're not behaving super well. They're jumping, they're aggressive, they're reactive, they're this, that, the other. There's something. And I got to get them secured, right? Leashes on. And then this is huge. People forget. I know layman, and I'm going to call you a layman. And even though you've been doing stuff, you have it. See this is a safety. It's a backup and it's non-negotiable. It's hooked to the leash
Mhm.
so that you're going to hook this to your dog's flat collar. So if, for God's sakes, any reason this thing comes off, you're
Back up.
hooked to your dog. Because I've had dogs pull out of halties,
Mhm.
out of gentle leaders. I
Mhm.
mean, when a dog really gets into a fight situation, they've popped out. That is flat out dangerous, right? So with my safety, it's free floating, so it can go anywhere it needs to go to fit any size dog. And it's not cumbersome. It's made out of the material of the leash, the strength. I mean, I have to have things not break, right? So my leash, the Good Walker, I love it. I have 2 other patents on earlier designs. I don't know if you knew that, but my earlier renditions, I got patents along the way, and they were good. I mean, I liked it, but this is the best. I mean, each time I woke up at 4:30 in the morning, I told my husband, "Oh my God!" I sat up in bed. I go, "Grant, rings. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, not any other thing. Rings for the leash, rings. I can do it with rings and it will be smooth and it'll be fluid and I can do it and adjust it with one hand. He goes, you're crazy, but okay, it sounds great. And that's this. That's this. I because I've used other things. I've used other things and the rings just changed it. And do you want to know what else? I'm very proud of this. And I really had to look around for it. It was very important to me that my product be made in the USA. And I went to multiple manufacturers. I pay probably $4 to $5 more per leash,
Yeah.
but it's so worth it. The quality of my rope, my hardware, my snaps. I mean, it's really good quality. And it was important to me. It's all made in the USA, every bit of it. And it's just got great, the snugger is great. It stays snug. This floats. Hello, water people. It floats. And now I have a water leash. I have an actual water leash with a little different clip that works really good in the sand, a beach leash. And then I also have a hands-free version of the Good Walker. So I have some of my service dogs, some of my clients don't have use of their hands. So we do a different configuration where it goes around their body. And now we've made it in the Good Walker. So we're
Oh,
excited.
cool.
What
Is
other
there
questions do you want to ask?
Oh, I know. We're going to run out of time here soon. I have so many more. I'm curious because I recently did a hands-free leash because we're going hiking more with my dog.
Yeah,
And just to have him not in my hand has been life-changing. My husband was really nervous at first. He's like, what if he sees something and pulls it out? I'm like, he won't. He's like pulling an 80-pound anvil behind me. This
right.
dog is like, I think he likes hiking. If my husband walks in front, he picks up pace. But
Yeah.
if I'm in front, he's staying behind me and he's
Yeah, we're
close to
his safe
me.
spot. Yeah.
Yep, we started putting a backpack on him so he has a job. He has to carry his own water now.
Listen to you doing all the things I teach. Sounds like you know a little bit about some stuff. I love that.
I used to put my former dog, my last dog, Molly, when we lived in the Caribbean, and it was not dog friendly. There wasn't a lot of places to take her, and it was hot, so I had really early mornings to get up. And there was one beach if I was super early, I could take her to and run her with the ball. And then in the evenings, like in that short window of when it wasn't so hot out and before it got dark, I'd throw that backpack on her and take her trail running. And the backpack was to, of course, give her more of a job and tire her out a little more.
Yeah.
But
You
yeah,
do that.
so we're doing that with the dog. So I'm curious because you're saying that the hands-free goes across the chest versus around the
Around
waist.
the
Is that
waist.
is
Yeah.
that better like for us ergonomically?
It
Like, can you
is.
tell
It
me a
is.
little bit about that?
It's safer. The hands free. My prototype is at the place right now. One of my employees is using it. It's essentially this, just longer, and it hooks and it has a snap and it snaps right here, right? And it's adjustable so that it doesn't have to be high. When you tie things around your waist, it can get tight. And when you hook things to your pants, I can't tell you how many of my employees have had their pants pulled down, or their belt loop broke,
Yeah, belt loop.
right?
Yeah.
So those are problems. So the hands free, and then you've got the apparatus at the end, which
Mhm.
is that this is the patented part, right? The loops, the slide, that it can be a slip lead, a traditional slip lead, or in those moments when some silly shenanigans are happening, you can instantly put that nose loop on to get that extra control, right? And that backup safety. So it's way more comfortable. And what you're talking about, that hands-free, that's called tethering.
Yeah.
Tethering is part of one of our purpose-driven activities. It's what we teach people to do, right? So you're doing exactly what you should be doing. And our hands-free leash just lets you do it, and it comes across and it doesn't bite in. I've had so many different ropes and leather and blah, blah, blah. The width of my rope is perfect for coming across here. It's not too thick, not too thin, because thin bites in, too thick, rub. This is just the right. So there you go.
Oh, I love it. Allie, I could sit here all day and talk this. You know, my love of dogs. I love chatting with you. We are getting so close to time. I had so many more things I wanted to ask you, but we can always come back on.
Oh
I'm
my
going to
gosh.
link all your products, all your things in the show notes. So all our
Thank
listeners who I
you.
have tons of dog listeners that are tuning
I
in
love
today.
dogs. I want to help all of you live life together in a safe, sane, and civilized way, right? It's
Love
so
it.
fun. And you're doing great. And I'm really proud of you because you do have a dog of size, right? But even those small dogs though, especially with the elderly, with the skin that's so fragile, yeah, even a 5-pound dog jumping off of an elderly person's lap can flay them like a zombie and they get an infection and get MRSA or sepsis. I mean, these are things that have happened to my clients. I know it to be true. So we really need to help you all learn how to do this in a good way, no matter the size or age of the dog, right?
Love that. I do have one question I ask everyone who comes on the show, and that is, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone when they are growing and scaling their business to help them be bolder, be louder, and make waves?
I love that. Be bolder. Well, just go do it. Number one, don't let your fear of technology or your lack of technology stop you. Just start. That's really all I've ever done. I just start. I have an idea. I have a modicum of skill in something, and I go, well, I'm just going to go do it. You get better. You do get better. You get smarter. You get more educated. You get more help. But if you can't scale, if you can't give it up, right, Laura? If you cannot scale, everything I've done so I can scale, but you have to have the systems in place to do it. And you're not going to have the systems on day one. That's okay. But you have to have your day one. So start and then find people like you. Hello. Hire it out. You just have to make that leap someday when you go, okay, I'm going to do this so that the technology catches up to what you're trying to do. Does that help? Does that answer that?
Yes, it does. That's amazing advice. I love it. Allie, tell our listeners, where can they come find you? Where are you hanging out online? Let them know your website, all the things that I will link up in the show notes.
Thank you. It's Ally's Puppy Bootcamp. It's a mouthful, but Ally with a Y, ALYS, AllysPuppyBootcamp.com. My Good Walker leash is there. My training packages are there. My online course is there, which is really fun. And Laura, we're just getting ready I do these 4 times a year. We're doing a 2-week workshop on the Academy for nervous and anxious dogs.
Oh,
Yeah. And it's a 2-week, it's the same Academy. The Academy never changes, but it's a 2-week, I walk you through the course, and we have a special Facebook group, and I do one for puppies. I do one for nervous and anxious dogs. And we do 4 of them a year. So this is my nervous and anxious dogs one. I've done one puppy one already. So I do a different focus, and we do 3 or 4 lives during that 2 weeks during our little private Facebook group that we set up for the Academy workshop. Those are called workshops. Same Academy. We just all go through it together in 2 weeks, and it's really fun. And I have emphasis of information on whatever that subject is. And this one is anxious and nervous dogs.
what are the dates for that?
It launches in 2 weeks. I have to look at my calendar on that one. Nick, I have someone that helps me with that. It launches on April 29th.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it launches on there. The pre-sale will be the week before, which is next week. Yeah. I know.
Okay.
Sorry about that. You guys, I am so not technologically sound in any way, shape, or form. And yet look what I've managed to do. We have a multi-million-dollar business because we just started. Start. Everything else starts to come in time. Save those dollars and get the help you need when you need it.
Wonderful. Allie, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This has been such a fun conversation.
Well, Laura, thank you for having me. I love talking to you, and thank you for helping me navigate all this stuff that lets me do what I do out there to people that don't come in person. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Be sure to check out the show notes at lauracomark.com/podcast. And if you're ready to turn your website into a marketing machine, get more sales, save time, and simplify the back end of your business, grab my free resource, Power Integrations for your website. Head on over to lauracomark.com/power. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe. And also, I'll just love you forever if you leave me a review. It helps get this podcast in front of other people that can help inspire. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next week. Bye now.